Zach Parham, President CEO of Comoto Holdings. We own GMP Cycles, Revzilla, and Cycle Gear.
Nice. And you've been going to Sturgis for how many years?
I've been going since I was 12. I've gone. I think this year was my 27th or 28th year on a motorcycle riding to Sturgis. I started when I was 12 with my dad. We used to take a trip every year. It was almost like his getaway point, and I've since used that as like a getaway point.
Yeah.
But we've rode from many different, L.A., Seattle, Las Vegas. But it was like a family dad son thing for a while. I rode my first time on my own bike when I was 16. So I guess I've been riding since I'm 16 to Sturgis. I missed 2 years since I was 16. I actually just turned 40. So, so this is my 29th year going, and I think it was my 27th year riding. So,
Man, that's impressive. And, I noticed that with a lot of people. It seems like, no matter where somebody came from, no matter what their situation was, it was like they're just way to get away for a week or two and just to
yeah,
to kind of not worry about stuff,
for
that was
sure.
kind of the
For
vibe
sure.
I got. So what was like that first experience at Sturgis like when you were 12? I mean, did your dad like prep you like, okay, like this is going to be like some things you don't usually see every day?
Yeah, and I mean, they put. I was 12 years old. I'd work the register. That's how I got really good at math, right?
Right.
Yeah, and your eyes were wide open. I mean, like we used to have when we opened the store in '97, where we are on Lozelle Street. I used to joke. I think I was 14, and these ladies outside were selling seashells
Yeah.
that were actually like bras, right? And so my mom's like, "This is like wide open for my 14-year-old to see this lady selling seashells on her as a swimsuit." So, but no, you experience a lot. It's kind of like it's almost like it's their. You meet tons of really cool people, but it's almost like their getaway. And some take it maybe a little bit more to the extreme than others, but it is like their getaway from normal life.
Yeah.
It's a cool event to see. All walks of life, right? So.
Yeah. Yeah. And you, like you said, you've got the J&P store out there in Sturgis. Have you been working it then every year since you went out there initially?
Yeah. So, I don't actually work the register as much as I used to. But we still spend a few days in the store helping customers even now. I mean, back in for the first, I don't know, 24 years, I basically like worked the store as anyone else. That we hire. We bring about 50 people in every year.
Wow.
I guess we have 50 employees in the building. 7 of them are local, and then the rest we actually bring from our stores across the nation. And it's a great event. Most of these people don't know each other before they come, so it's a great learning. It's a great learning of meeting new people in the company that you work for that you never really see. But yeah, I definitely would still work the store some. But yeah, it's a good event. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I noticed that, I mean, that store gets real busy, real
It
busy.
does. Yeah, we basically own a whole city block on Lozelle and Main between 5th and 6th Street. So we're right off the party basically on Main Street, right? So
Yeah.
we get a lot of foot traffic and a lot of bike parking, people coming in. So.
Yeah. And obviously, Sturgis has gotten a lot bigger since you went almost 30 years ago. What's your kind of take on how it's changed maybe since you went that first time or rode, the first time by yourself?
Yeah, I mean, like, so when my dad built the building that we're in now in '97 out on Lozelle Street, he was really the first one to go off Maynard Junction to
Oh,
Lozelle
really?
Street. And
Okay.
so now, like, literally, Lozelle Street's almost the street besides the bars on Main Street, right?
Hmm.
And so, yeah, the first few years we were out there in the early 2000s. We were like one of the only ones out there and then Harley moved. You have the museum and the Harley and Indian, and that's kind of been there for almost, I guess, 10, 15 years now. But
Sure.
um, yeah, that's what's really changed is Lozelle Street's really the street now. And then even this year, usually our block's about the last block somebody's going to walk, but it's starting to even move out farther out on Lozelle Street towards the Indian dealership even more, which is good to see. But yeah, it's changed a lot. I mean, I think the Buffalo Chips probably doubled in size, or doubled in entertainment in the last 15 years. It's amazing what those guys do. And then Full Throttle, that's now moved farther out. Them and that Harley partnership, it's a really that's a really new. There's some really unique experiences where it's probably not what your traditional. If you've never been to Sturgis, what you think a campground is, it's definitely not that.
No, it
It's a little
isn't.
bit. It's a little bit of everything, So
Yeah, I stayed at the Buffalo Chip and camped kind of right in the middle of everything, and
oh yeah,
it was an experience. I mean, it was a great experience. Like, and
yeah,
everybody was so nice and friendly, and everybody's just there to hang out or whatever. But it's a party, man. You kind of have to
yeah.
buckle up a little bit. So
Buckle up, yep. Especially if you're staying there. Yeah, oh, yeah. Because I mean, they go hard every night of new concerts, right? So
yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's funny because the band at what's called Bikini Beach, which I stayed right across from, I didn't know this, but after the concerts end at midnight, that's when that band starts. So,
right, right,
and they go till like 2 in the morning. So it's impressive to see.
yeah.
Um, Going back to when you said you rode for the first time at 16, if you don't mind me asking, where did you ride from and what was that experience like?
That year we just rode from Manamosa, where GMP's where it started. It's
Hmm.
about 800 miles to Sturgis from there. There's a few different routes. Most of them just go through South Dakota, Nebraska.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I rode a I rode a 2002 Sportster. So this is before they were rubber mounted. It was like it was like one of the last years before I think they converted to rubber mount in 2004. Um, so yeah, we did 500 miles. One of those. We did it a day and a half. Yeah, we took a little bit shorter route that year. I think my dad wanted to make sure I didn't kill myself, probably right, as a 16-year-old riding a motorcycle. So he
Yeah.
kind of took a little bit back path and a little bit shorter route that year. But then we went, the following year we went somewhere else, and it was just like I think we rode out of Seattle the following year. And
Oh,
so
wow.
it was like we shipped our bikes to Seattle and rode through Idaho, Montana, and it was a great experience. Put a lot of miles on next to my dad or behind my dad, right? I mean, I got it. Those were the years where unless you had a electric glide, you didn't have a stereo. So
Right.
I and blue comms weren't really there yet, right? So like
Not
you
at
didn't
all.
really have
Yeah.
music in your ears. So I used to like I just remember in 2008 I was riding behind my dad in Death Valley, and it was 115 that day, and he's playing Highway to Hell as we're riding through Death Valley. He's got it blaring, so I can hear him on my dyna behind him, and
Yeah.
I'm like, well, it kind of feels like it's. I mean, it's like it's hot as heck, and so the experiences you have on a motorcycle you'll never forget. The people you meet on a motorcycle you'll never forget, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine going for as long as you have, it's probably like a big family reunion almost for you now, right?
it is, it is. Yeah, you. Well, obviously, my dad's was in the industry so long, so really all the people that were in the industry with him, I all know, and then there's a new generation coming in, right? And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's a little bit of both, but for sure.
Yeah, what's the new generation of maybe Harley folks, or sorry, the new generation of Sturgis goers maybe that you've seen? I mean, is it any different than the folks from the past? Has it changed? Is it tamer? Is it more wild? I mean, anything kind of different that comes to mind with the new younger folks coming in?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I mean, you're seeing some of these vloggers and these influencers that are helping try to drive that younger generation. You do have brands like Fox Factory now that are, like where they weren't even around. They were around, they just weren't really around in the performance banker industry like it is now, and Olin's and stuff like that. So you're
Right.
getting a lot of maybe non Harley brands that are starting to maybe influence that younger, more performance Harley that's happening right now. But you are seeing a shift. In many cases over the years, you've seen where it's son and dad or dad and daughter, right? So it's a generational family thing, almost like it was for me.
Yeah.
Um, you do see that. So I think some of that's being driven by that. But it like you stay at the Buffalo Chip. It's a little bit of, are they coming for the party? Are they coming to ride? Are they coming to do stuff to their bike? It's a little bit of all three now, right? And I would say it
Sure.
used to be probably more about the riding and maybe working on the motorcycle, or getting things done for your motorcycle. It's still
Really?
there for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think the entertainment has just gotten so big between all these different places that you have a little bit of that. It's just a straight up vacation, right?
Yeah.
Come hang out in the Black Hills. So
Yeah, I mean, the riding was phenomenal. That's some of the best
oh
riding
yeah,
I've ever done. I did the Spearfish Loop. I went down through
yeah,
Keystone and did
yeah.
Iron Mountain or whatever. And I was not on a Harley. I was on a Yamaha XSR 900. So I kind of stuck
Okay.
out a little bit. But
Oh, for sure.
I was going through Iron Mountain and then came up through Custer and all that. And I mean, I was trailing these 2 guys on Harleys and, I mean, they were booking it. I was impressed. I was like, I got this lightweight flickable motorcycle and I was trying to keep up with these guys and it was not easy, man.
Yeah, I've rode with some guys on electric glides through canyons that I'm like, I'm not sure I'd attempt that, but these guys are riding side by side, through these canyons at high speed. So I'm like, that's impressive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually rode my adventure bike. I rode an 890 KTM
Oh,
because we did
cool.
a little bit of off road on road through Colorado on the way. But yeah, it was. Yeah, I stuck out. I stuck out also a little bit. I at least have an orange and black bike, but I still stuck out definitely. So, but you are seeing more adventure bikes there. Whether probably not as many KTM's by any means because those are more off-road bikes, but you're definitely seeing the new Harley, the Pan America, and you are
Yeah.
seeing a decent number of BMW guys. I think the craziest thing you see is the colors, whether it's the Hells Angels or the Outlaws. There's guys riding GSs now, right? Instead of riding
Oh,
bangers, they're riding GSs. Like you see some of them, and you see groups of GS riders, almost like that's almost like their new Harley to a point.
sure.
So you have a little bit of that going on. That definitely like used to be a Harley only event, 15 years ago for sure. Like and heck, if you came in with a non Harley bike, you almost were like ridiculed a little bit, right? Back in the day. That's
Yeah.
not the same anymore, right? Now Indian changed some of that, right,
Sure,
and other
sure.
brands too, but it's kind of a little bit of everybody. It's still mostly Harley dominant for sure, but the event's a little bit everybody. I'm sure you saw that some too, right? You were a minority, but you weren't alone, I guess, right?
Yeah,
So
100%. And I even
yeah,
got some compliments on, some people were
yeah,
like, "Oh yeah, I bet that bike zips around." I'm like, it sure does. And then somebody even
yeah,
like leaned out their window. I was like, "That's a cool bike, man." I'm like, "All right, cool. This
yeah.
I felt like part of the club, so that was cool." But
Correct. So.
um if you've got all this Sturgis experience, if somebody, was going for the first time or maybe like wanted to go next year, what's like some must-dos or some advice that you have for somebody that wanted to go, for the first time?
Yeah, I would actually tell them to either go early or go late. Go to part of the event,
Mhm.
but try to go riding outside of the event. To be honest, right? Because it's really busy during the event, and yeah, It's got some of the best roads in America, right? And so
100%, 100%.
people don't really know that until you go. But the Black Hills has some of the best roads you can ride, and they're a whole lot more fun when you're not in a parade loop, right? And so I would tell them to either go early or late and go ride the roads out there, go experience the Black Hills, and then I would go visit Black Hills. I know it's my competitor, but I'd go visit Black Hills for a day. It's a crazy experience to go drive onto Black Hills for a day, and then I would come visit Sturgis. You can see the OEMs. You can come see, the crazy setup we have ourselves
Yeah, yeah.
in Sturgis. But like, come visit both of those two, and then I would tell them to go experience the campgrounds a little bit. I don't know if you have to stay there, but like, but you should at least go experience the Buffalo Chip or Full Throttle one night. It's a different experience, right? It's not something you're going to see in most places in America on a given weekend, right? And so I do think you should do all three. In all honesty. Now next year is the 85th, so if you haven't gone to Sturgis before, the anniversary years matter. And
Yeah,
so the 84 was lighter traffic this year. We still did very well, and so people were definitely out to do things to their motorcycles, but it was lower traffic, and actually it was great, to be honest. This year the traffic wasn't bad.
yeah,
You could kind of get around a whole lot easier. Um, but usually the anniversary years, like the 75th, obviously the 80th was during COVID, so it was a little bit different. But
sure.
the 75th was absolutely nuts, and I would expect the 85th to be something similar next year. So I would tell you, if you're going next year, just be prepared for a little traffic, but the Buffalo Chip will have better concerts. They're going to go bigger because of what it is, and so the experience you'll get next year will be one of a kind. I would say. So
Yeah, yeah. It seems like they really go like I mean, every year, whether it's an anniversary year or not, they just go bigger and bigger and better. And I
yeah,
mean, when it's like, wow, you got Kid Rock and Jelly Roll. Like those are
right.
two big, big artists. So
Yes. Yep.
and those concerts are pretty unreal. So
They are.
so you've been going for so long, you keep going back every year. You touched on it at the beginning, but tell me a little bit what makes Sturgis like so special for you? What keeps you coming back every year?
part of it because we have a city block and it's a very good event for us. But I would tell you, I don't need to ride, right? Like I don't have to ride to go to Sturgis every year. I
Sure.
choose to, right? And why do I choose it? I think it's just like taking that 3 or 4 day trip on a motorcycle every year, even if you're in this industry, is something you need to realize what you're. I mean, we every day we wake up and we help people take these experiences. But if you don't take them yourself, you don't really realize the experience of breaking down. Or I hope you don't have that, but I've done that before. When you ride 27 years, I've been broke. I broke down a few times, right? Or
Yeah.
something comes loose and you got to fix it. Or it's the discussions at a gas station with the 4 guys you're riding with, or maybe you took a corner a little too fast and you're like, oh, I need to do that a little differently next time, right? And so like
Yeah.
it's just that experience every year. And then I also say like while riding 700 miles in a day is a lot, it also gives you a lot of time to think, right? And so that's a lot of face time, or a lot of time behind a shield,
Yeah. Yeah.
whether it's a helmet shield or a windshield. I actually enjoy it, to be honest, right? It just gives you a time to see America. And I think the greatest thing you can do on a motorcycle is go visit places you haven't, right?
Hmm.
And this, I guess, that's what we try to do every year is take a little bit different route or find a little bit different way to go, so that you can see something new. So
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is it's kind of in the center of the country, and there's so many different ways to get there. I mean, and you can come from north, south, east, west, and
yeah,
it kind of reminds me of part of or a variation of the Great American Road Trip,
I
and
would agree with you on that. Yeah, for
and you
sure.
do get a lot of time to think. And I kept coming back to the word like pilgrimage. It's almost like a
Yep,
pilgrimage where you just
yep,
for motorcyclists. So,
for sure.
um,
I'd agree with that.
yeah, so it was a great experience, and I can't wait to go back. And thank you, Zach, for spending some time with us. We appreciate it.
For sure. Yeah, glad to do it. If it helps get people to make the journey once, right? I mean, if you haven't ever gone, I totally recommend you doing it. Whether you're on a Harley or not. I know we spent a little time talking about how you could get ridiculed back in the day. I don't think that's not there anymore, right? So it doesn't really matter what bike you're riding. You should go ride in the Black Hills, to be honest, right? Now, whether you go to Sturgis or not, that's your choice. But I definitely think that you should go ride in this beautiful area of the country, if you own a motorcycle. And we're there year round, so if you want to stop and see us, you're more than welcome to come.
Yeah, and you got a great story there and some great folks. I saw a lot of people getting a lot of help, so you got a good team. So
Awesome.
um,
Well, thank you.
yeah, thank you.